Hello. Hope that you're doing well. Today we're going to take a look at composition transformations. So over the past several days, we've been taking a look at the four different types of transformations. We've been doing translations, reflections, dilations, and rotations. Today we're kind of going to combine them all together and do more than one transformation at a time. So here we go. Graph the final image for each composition transformation. Write a rule that can map the pre-image directly to the image. Now, composition, you may or may not have seen that word before. I like to think of composition like you're composing a song. So a song is made of the words, the melody, you gotta have a hook, you gotta have a nice beat. So composition, we're gonna be taking different parts of transformations and putting it all together. So we'll be transforming it more than one time. So for the first one that we have here, we're giving out ordered pairs. It's telling us that it reflects over the x-axis. Then we want to dilate it by a scale factor of 1/2. So that means we're going to be doing two different transformations. The first one is going to be a reflection, and then the second one is going to be a dilation. So the first thing that I would do is just write my rules down so that I know what I'm doing to each ordered pair. So the first one says we're reflecting over the x-axis. So, okay, we know that the x-axis rule reflection over the x-axis rule is x negative y. So that's going to be the first thing that we want to consider. Dilation by a scale factor of 1/2. I could write that out, but all that means is I'm going to take everything and I'm going to multiply it by 1/2. So I'm going to be taking everything and multiplying it by 1/2, which is the same as dividing by 2. So over here to the side is where I'm going to do my scratch work before I plot the points. Okay, so we're going to take a look at, we're going to find M, N, and O prime. Right. So M is 4, 5, N is 6, 3, and O is 4, 0. So if I want to do X negative Y, that means our X coordinate is going to stay the same, and we're going to take the opposite sign of my Y coordinate. So that's going to give me 4, negative 5, 6, negative 3, and 4, 0. So I kept all the X coordinates. I kept all of those that they gave us, and I did the opposite sign for the Y. So I changed all of these Y coordinates to a negative, and we know 0 doesn't have any positive or negative charge to it. So that takes care of the first part, reflecting over the x-axis. Now I want to dilate it by a scale factor of 1/2. So we know that this is a reduction. So now we're finding M, N, and O double prime. So we're going to use these points and we're going to multiply them each by 1/2, which means we're going to divide them by 2. So I'm going to take half of these. We're going to have fractions, but that's okay. So I got 2, negative 5/2. If I take half of this, that'll be 3, negative 3/2. Again, nothing wrong with a fraction. And then this one is going to give me 2, 0. So I took all of these points here and I divided it by 2, which is the same as multiplying by 1/2 because that was our rule. Now it says to put M prime, N prime, and O prime in the spots here so we can graph them. So this is going to be 2, negative 5/2, 3, negative 3/2, and 2, 0. Now, if I want a rule to kind of put this all together, because I want one rule that will combine us going from the pre-image all the way to our new image. So if I combine these together, 1/2 will be my coefficient and nothing changed with the x. And then I need to combine the negative with the 1/2. So my final rule is going to be 1/2 x negative 1/2. So I took these two rules here and I combined them together so that ideally I could just go from this pre-image all the way to my final image using this rule. All right, and we're going to take these points and we're going to plot them on our coordinate plane here. Okay, we got fractions, but that's okay. So we'll kind of work in the middle of our numbers here. So we have 2, negative 5/2. Negative 5/2 is negative 2.5. So we're going to start here at the origin. We're going to go over 2. And then we're going to come down to a little bit past negative 2, in between negative 2 and 3. So we're going to have a point right there. So that's going to be our first point. It's in the middle because I got a half, but that's all right. Our next ordered pair is 3, -3/2. So we're going to start at 0. We're going to go over 1, 2, 3. This time we're going to go a little bit past -1 and in between -1 and 2. So we're going to have a point in the middle here. And then last, we got 2, 0. Here's my origin. We're going to go 2, 0. We're going to stay because there's no movement there. So this is our last point. And just like that, we got our image graph and label our coordinates M prime, N prime, and O prime. So we started with the pre-image ordered pairs. We did 2 different transformations. We graphed them, and this is what our image looks like. So we combined these 2 together, use a composition. So composition, we're putting things together, and we made a brand new rule. Okay, let's try a couple more. All right, we got Q, R, and S. We want to rotate this 180 degrees, and we want to reflect over the y-axis. So let's go through that again. We want to rotate 180 degrees, and we want to reflect over the y-axis. So let's write our 2 rules out so that we'll know what we're doing. If we rotate 180 degrees, our rule is -x, -y. So that's the rule for 180 degrees. If I reflect over the y-axis, our rule is -x, y. So we're going to go through and we're going to do these 2 transformations to come up with our Q prime, R prime, Q double prime, R double prime, and S double prime. So let's start with just regular Q prime, R, and S. So first we're going to do -x, -y. That means to change the signs of all your x's and y's to the opposite of what they are. So we're going to change all of these signs. So 0, 0 doesn't change anything. R prime will be -4, -5. And S will be -5, 1. -1, excuse me. So we changed the signs of everything. These were both positive, we changed the signs negative. These were both positive, we changed the signs to negative. So these are our 3 new ordered pairs, and that is a -1 right there. Now we're going to find our Q double prime, R double prime, and S double prime. So we're going to find those. So now Q double prime, R, and S. Now we're going to do -x, y. So again, 0, 0 is going to stay the same. Nothing's changing about that. Okay. We're going to take the opposite sign of this and keep the y. So our new sign here is going to be 4, -5. It was negative. We changed to the opposite sign because the rule says -x, y. And then S prime is -5, -1. If I apply my rule here, I get 5, -1 because it says to change the sign and keep the y. So we changed the -5 to +5, and then we kept the y coordinate, which was -1. So these are our final ordered pairs that we're going to be graphing. So those are our ordered pairs. Now our rule, we're going to combine these together so that we can have one singular rule. Now if you notice, both of these, I have both of these here, so it's kind of almost like you can think of it like canceling each other out. So if you look at your x coordinates, 0, 0, 4, 4, 5, 5. Actually, they didn't change, so our x coordinates actually stay the same. If I look at the y coordinates, so 0, I can't really tell too much from 0. I went from a +5 to a -5. I went from a +1 to a -1. So actually my rule for the y coordinate is that we took the opposite sign. So I used a combination of looking at my 2 rules that I had, and I also looked at my original and where I ended from to get that my rule was going to be keep the x and -y. Now I'm going to go plot these. So I don't have any fractions or anything to worry about here, so that's good. So I got 0, 0. That's going to stay in the middle. We have 4, -5. So we'll go over 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. And we have 5, -1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1. And connect so that we have our triangle. And we'll label our points. This was Q double prime, this was R double prime, and this was S double prime. And that is our triangle. So we took our original pre-image ordered pairs. We did 2 transformations for our image, and then our final rule is x negative y. And last but not least, we'll take a look at one more. This time, we have the ordered pairs -4, 1, -2, 3, and 0, 0. We want to translate right 4 and down 2. So that all goes together. That's the translation. Then after we do that, we want to rotate 90 degrees. So let's start here. So what is our rule if we if we translate right 4 and down 2? So that's a slide. I'm going to the right. So that's going to be positive. I'm going to the right. And then I'm going down 2. So moving positive or negative is your x, and moving up or down is your y. So since I'm moving down, that's a negative. Since we're going to the right, those are your positive x coordinates. That's going to be x plus 4. If I rotate 90 degrees, our rule for rotating 90 degrees is negative y x. All right, so let's find our prime. So I want to do x plus 4. So we're going to take all of these x coordinates and add 4 to it. -4 plus 4, -2 plus 4, and 0 plus 4. And 4. There we go. So then I'm going to take the y minus 2 and I'm going to plug in my y coordinates. So 1 minus 2. And I'm going to do 3 minus 2. And then we're going to do 0 minus 2. So these are our A prime, B prime, and C prime. Now, of course, we got to do one more transformation. This time we got to take these 3 ordered pairs and we have to do negative yx, which means we're going to switch the x and y around. So kind of like flip it, switch these x and y's around, and then make the y the opposite sign of where we started from. So if I switch this around and make this the opposite sign, it's going to be 1, 0. If I switch this around and make the opposite sign, it's going to be -1, 2. And if I switch this around and make the y coordinate the opposite, it'll be 2, 4. So these are 3 ordered pairs, and that's not one. Hopefully you're writing in pencil. So this is 1, 0 here. This is going to be -1, 2 here, and then this one's going to be 2, 4. So this is 1, 0, this is -1, 2, and 2, 4. So those are our 3 new ordered pairs that we found from translating right 4 and down 2. Now let's see if we can try to combine these together. Like, what did I do to get from one number to the next? Now, this one's maybe a little more challenging than the other ones, but I can still look at my 2 rules that I have here. So if I combine this rule with this rule, I got a negative here, and then your x and y switch. So I have a negative that went here, and then my x and y coordinate both switch. So it's kind of like the y minus 2 became first, and the x plus 4 was second because of this rule. So if y minus 2 comes first and I got a negative in the front, it's going to change the rules. It's going to change the sign of everything that we have. So y coordinate comes first because of the rotation, and then I put a negative in the front. So a negative times y is negative y, and a negative times a negative is positive 2. And then the x coordinate came second. So that is our rule on how we could have went from our pre-image to our final rule here. And of course, we know we will do our thing and we will plot these points. We got 1, 0. So this is 1, 0 here. We got -1, 2, -1, and go up 2. And then we have 2, 4. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll connect these. So this is going to be A prime, double prime, B double prime, and C double prime. So today the take home point is that yes, you can do your transformations and find your image in 2 separate points, or you can 2 separate steps, or you can combine it all together through composition like we did with these 3 examples right here. Now you're all ready to go try your assignment for